Our Point of View talk show. We're so glad that you guys could join us on Facebook Live. We're going to be talking about love today because Valentine's week is here. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about love. We're going to be talking about how to win your partner, how to maintain, and then what you need to do to keep that relationship. So first, we're going to introduce our host. We have with us Miss Connie. She's back. It's so good to see you.
It's good to be back, everybody.
And then we have Michael.
Hello. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Now, Derek, are you okay? Did we get you on?
He said,
So we can't see you, but we can hear you. No, we need to see you. Well, we're going to introduce our guest host we have with us. We have Miss Cinta Mickle. Hey, Cinta. Welcome back. Then we have there's Derek. Hi, Derek.
there we go.
Then we have with us Miss Tammy Johnson.
Hello.
And then we have Miss Portia Gibson. Hi, Portia.
Hi.
Derek, we have our state representative, Derek Jackson from District 64. How you doing today, Derek?
It's been a long day, but you know, I was looking forward to this topic tonight.
I know, right?
Right. This is your show.
This is your show, buddy.
We only here to check you out, so it's on.
Connie, that's too much pressure, Connie.
I know.
So let's start the show, Derek. What we gonna talk about? What we gonna be talking about? Love. Let's start it.
So as you've already stated, Jacqueline, you know, Valentine is Sunday, and it's always during this time where where couples, right? Those who we love, those who are dating, courting, whatever it may be, wherever you may be in that phase of your life, Valentine's is one of those holidays where love is in the air, right? And the question is always asked, how do you win a person love? How do you win a person love? And that's the opening question for us. Let's get this conversation on. How do you win someone else's love?
Well, you know what? Let's start with the youngest one here, Mike. Because we all experienced it a lot of times.
So you don't think I've experienced love before?
Well, I don't know if you've experienced love. Yeah, you've experienced love before.
He has.
Because he's experienced hurt. So in order to experience hurt.
Amen. All right, so from a millennial standpoint, when it comes to love, I've learned that you just have to show someone that you care. You have to show someone that you care about them enough to put your own problems on the back burner and just engulf yourself in their daily life. You know what I mean? So if you want to show someone how appreciative you are of how they treat you, show them with some random acts of kindness. Go and buy some flowers, or go and make breakfast, or go and do something. Go pay a bill. We grown out nowadays. That's the help. Go and help somebody like that. So I feel like it's just, you have to really genuinely want to be with that person first, and then you have to just show them by showing acts of kindness.
So you're raising a couple good points though, Mike, but I think everything you said though, you saying that you have to show or give something. Is it always about what you show or give, or is there a expectation that you may have, right? Because the two are not the same. Right.
I feel like really it's kind of half and half. It's 50% show and 50% just showing up. So I feel like when it comes to love, it's the small things that count, it especially early on, because early on, that's when you're trying to feel someone out. You're trying to see if you guys click and whatnot. So you may get tested a lot. And then if you pass those small tests, then that person may open up to you gradually.
So let's get a woman's perspective there, because Mike said you got to get tested, right? Is this thing about a test? right? What do you do? Are you trying to, push certain buttons to see what levers are there or not there when you start talking about winning someone's love?
But I think in the beginning stages, it's all about it's the honeymoon phase. It's the honeymoon phase. You want to talk to each other all the time. You want to see each other all the time, be around each other all the time. I mean, it's just a honeymoon phase. But with that, it's getting to know each other and seeing if you actually click, and then bringing up those little questions that you want to talk about, like what's a deal breaker in a relationship, or do you want to get married, or how would you feel if I told you that I wanted to wait until marriage before I had sex? So those is what, to me, those type of questions are going to be the questions that are going to actually make or break the relationship in the beginning of the relationship. Because some guys might be like, oh, you don't want to have sex until marriage? I'm out. And some guys might be like, well, I respect that.
So let's pull that string a little bit more, because that sounds more traditional, right? I don't think that's applicable in 2021. Listening to Mike, right? I just think it's different, right? And I mean, because the way you described it, Jacqueline, it sounds like you and that other person, it's just one-on-one. But in Mike's generation, that interview may be with 5 or 6 different individuals all at once, right? Today's generation, they ain't putting 100% in on one individual all at once, right? I think you're describing more of that traditional sense. I think it's a little bit different nowadays.
I think it's a whole lot different, and I don't think that it's just in Mike's generation. I just think it's different across society. My vision is, or what I believe is, that love, there's different levels of love. I mean, because I always reflect back to, when I was in first grade, I was in love. You know what I mean? My first boyfriend, I thought I was in love with him. You know what I mean? And so,
Connie, did you say first grade?
First grade.
You went all the way back to the first grade.
Well, I did that because I wanted to show, how we believe that we love or are in love with someone all the way back then. You know what I mean? It grows and it develops. So yes, I just knew. You know how you just had that crush on that one boy, and you thought, "Oh, this is it." You didn't know, but I'm just saying, you were that young. Then you move on to middle school, and it's somebody else you crushing on, and then by the time you get to high school, you think you know all about love. So now you really have fallen in love. So to me, there's different levels of love. It's not always just about that one individual, because I always use the analogy, like I have a son. I have sons with my husband, then I have a son by someone else. My son is 38 years. So 38 years ago, I was in a relationship with someone else. Now, do I love that person? Am I in love with that person? No, but do I love the person because he gave me my son? I don't hate him. He's not the worst person in the world. I mean, he's married, he's moved on with his life, but I still love that individual. You understand what I'm saying? So there's different levels of love. So for my husband, that's a totally different kind of love. However, you grow into that love. I think communication is key in any generation. Having those conversations with persons along the way is very key when you're on the road to finding that one. And you might not, like Captain said, you might not find that one with the first person. You might have 2 or 3 on the side. It ain't just brothers that have 2 or 3 on the side. The sisters now have 2 or 3 on the side, because they checking it out too. They want to see your resume too. So it's not just one-sided anymore. It has totally changed in the 21st century. Even in the 20th century, I think that it has totally changed.
We're gonna put a parenthetical pause on that one, because we're gonna come back to that, because that's where you start talking about maintaining these different types of love. But Connie, I want to drill in on something. Can love be shared with more than one person?
I believe it can.
So you can take your heart, you can share it with two different individuals at the same time?
Of course, you love your children.
No. I ain't,
You're talking about
intimate
Talking about in relationships.
Yes.
relationship.
Time.
Yes.
Well, I believe you can. Yeah.
what are you saying, Portia?
You have
He's talking about two different men at the same time. Can you love two different men at the same time? That's the question.
There you go, Portia. That's what I'm talking about, Portia. Thank you, ma'am.
I
You know,
think we can.
You say yes, Spencer? Yeah. I think you can too. I think you can too. That opportunity presents itself. If there's two people there and you're communicating with both of them, you're gonna fall in love with them in different ways. You're
So
gonna love
what
them.
happens if you fall in love with one of them harder than you do the other one?
Then you have to make up your mind.
You gotta-
I guess that's the one you end up with.
You gotta roast them both.
I think it's us. I think it's you. It's just like we are two different people, believe it or not.
Right.
We are I'm gonna use verbiage. We're our educated, straight-minded, classy person. And then we're our little thug that like to go out there, run around, and have fun. And then we can have these people in our life that we deal with. We'll have two different avenue of friends that we deal with. We may have two completely different men that bring two completely different things that we enjoy doing in our life. And we enjoy both of these men because they fascinate us in these levels of things that we enjoy doing. There has been a time in my life that I have been at a place where I was, blown away by two completely different people.
Okay.
And I lived two completely different lives. I went one way, and when you saw me, I had my dress on, I was carrying my bag, I was talking all proper, I was cute wearing my makeup and everything like that. And then when that joker leave, I will pull up at your house thumping some hard music, so hard, popping up, jumping out the car, got my little Capri on, stuff hanging off, and it just was crazy. And it wasn't that I was trying to live two different lives. It was just a whole bunch of stuff that I enjoyed doing. But then I had to sit back and say, Center, how do you want to finish this race?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's something before you get married. Now you're not gonna do. I don't believe.
Well, what I want to interject here because it's not so bad. I mean, brothers do it all the time.
Right.
I mean, men love two women, three women. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because a woman now standing up and holding her ground and say, yes, you can love two men at the same time. It's an issue, but two brothers can say, well, I love you and I love her too. And it's okay. No,
I'm not, that's not what I'm advocating. And I'm glad we're having this. See, because and this is coming from, again, I'm 55, right? So I'm coming from a perspective of maturity. If you're trying to win a person's love, and you're trying to deal with two different women. Let's say, here's the scenario. I'm using your scenario. So you're trying to win love and you're dealing with two different individuals, right? Is it love on one and infatuation on the other? I don't think, and again, I could be wrong, but when I talk about love, I'm talking about the love that's in the Bible. I'm talking about that deep, intrinsic love, agape love. Can that be shared amongst two different individuals? See, because I think that's what happens when, and I understand your point, Connie, right? Because I'm saying this goes for both men and women. I don't think it's never safe to have the side dude or the side chick or whatever the vernacular is. It should be imano, right? Because if you're trying to take agape love and share it amongst two different individuals as you're trying to win their love, it will never work because the prescription that's in the Bible is very clear. It's either all in or it's not. And when it's not all in, you run into a situation where someone's going to get hurt in the end.
Well, that seems like if you're dating two different guys and you're taking, I mean, you've been dating two different guys for a long time, if somebody's going to get hurt. Because like in the beginning, when you're just dating, and it's like, okay, I'm going out with Johnny, then I'm going out with Michael, and then I'm going out with so-and-so. And then, you know, you're like, okay, well, Michael, not so much. He's not my type. Okay, well, it's like process of elimination. So I don't think anybody should really be getting hurt. And the way they're going to get hurt is because the relationship is going for a long time with both of them. I mean, I can see maybe 2 weeks up to a month dating 3 and 4 different guys if you're dating trying to find somebody. But if you're just dating just to be out here having fun and all, then you're not going to worry about it. And you're not really going to me, you're not really going to fall in love.
Well, I don't think love is involved then, Jacqueline. I don't think love is involved. You just basically, you're just dating. You're just dating, right? I don't think love is involved.
Once you get to the point where you start loving a person, or you're looking for someone to be that you think you're going to be compatible with, and you start loving, then you're gonna. To me, you're gonna break it off with one person soon, so that person don't get hurt. So you know that you want to be with person number A, so you're going to tell B, okay, well, I don't think this is going to work for us. So that way, there is no hurt. It's like, okay, let me just go on over on this side.
See, because I think you're raising an excellent point, right? I think when we have to differentiate, because let's face it, women mature faster than men, period, end of story, right? There's no guessing about that, right? And so the likelihood
Michael didn't say nothing.
What did Michael say?
Sometimes. He didn't say anything. We had this discussion.
Emphasis on sometimes.
Sometimes, all the time.
Well, the empirical, there's empirical evidence that women mature faster than men. There's undisputable evidence of that. But when I'm, as you stated, Jacqueline, that we're talking about how to win someone love, right? And so once you have dated 4, 5, 6 different individuals, and you start to have that chemistry. Now I get with Sister Miko. Cinta, yeah. So I get what Cinta is saying, because Cinta's saying, hey, there might be, you're dating and you're like, oh, I like this person and they give me 80%, but I like this person, they give me 60%. But it's, so you're trying to figure it out. So now, once you realize which one you want to go with, now how do you win that love? Winning that love is developing that expectation. Okay, Joe over here is nice, cool, calm, collective, intellectual, but Ray is give me that thug side, right? Yeah, So how do you introduce those characteristics from one, or the expectation from one, and you pour it in, or you invest it in the one that you have decided, where you have more of that chemistry? Now you start to win that love, and you have those conversations about the things that you like and dislike, and you start to realize from a mutual standpoint, right? Because, and the reason why I'm emphasizing on mutual, because it's important. Women, are so mature. They know what they want. They have expectations. They have standards. Brothers may say, well, I like her, but do you like her enough to take her home to your mother?
Right.
And if the answer is no, then there's no alignment between her expectations and his expectations. So trying to win that love when there's no alignment between the two in terms of where they're going to go in this destination of this journey, that might be setting up that relationship to a bridge to nowhere, right? And so you have to ask yourself, both men and women, when you find that one, how do you win their love, right? Does it happen in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? What's that timetable?
But we have, I just want to say, one of our persons who's online with us said, continually date your mate to maintain the relationship.
Consistency.
Mm.
Here to get them to maintain it.
Right. So even, you know, years down the line, you still should be technically dating your mate, because a lot of times the dating stops.
Mhm.
But it
He said
shouldn't.
continually date your mate.
I agree. And we're going to talk about that when we start talking about maintaining and keeping. But if we don't get the winning part right, Connie, we don't get to maintaining or keeping that mate. Right?
But I mean, how do we win it? I mean, when you say win, I mean, it's not like it's a football game and you cross a goal and you score a touchdown. I mean, when you win, I mean, sometimes you win in a week, sometimes you win in 2 years, sometimes you win it in 3 years. I mean,
Depends on
no
the chemistry.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's chemistry. If there's no chemistry, it's not going to be no win-win situation. You know, you can't force something. So is it chemistry?
So
Derek?
Portia, so how is that process though, right? I mean, when you meet someone, do you immediately go and see if they have a social media page, and right? And do you figure out what their likes and dislike? You go to their Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and you win it that way as well. You go, oh, I realize that this football team is your favorite, or you like this
Right.
movie, or you're reading this book. That's the question. How do you win someone's
Right.
love? Because if we don't define it right, Portia, Jacqueline, right? If we don't define it right,
That's
it's not gonna
called
happen.
comment. You know, when you're saying that, do they like football, or do they like certain kinds of things that you like? Common interests. The chemistry is that's there, because you can be with somebody and they can be very attractive, but there's nothing. There's nothing. That ain't gonna work for you, because it's just wasting your time. So it's like, truthfully, when you meet a person and they're attractive, you think they're attracted to you as well as both sides, say, and y'all start talking and so forth. And if there's no chemistry, y'all don't have anything in common. It's just that vibe. There's nothing there. It's not going to work. So you're saying, how can you win a person? I think you have to have chemistry. I think you have to have common interests. You have to, I mean, who wants to be with somebody they can't even talk to?
Right.
Because, yeah, if it's just a sex thing, that's going to be done within that day. Then you move on.
That's why I say take sex out of the equation. Don't talk about sex.
You have to have interest.
The Portia says done that day. It's
done. Move on.
Connie, she didn't give the person a day, Connie.
Jeez.
Portia said, listen.
I mean, hey, I ain't gonna waste my time.
It's over. But her statement is true, because I think my husband and I, we were sharing with someone, and they were talking about how sex, like if your relationship is marriage, is 100%. Like sex is 24% of that. Like marriage is so much more than just being in bed with someone. It's a whole other gamut that you haven't even tapped into. So being intimate with someone is just a little small corner when you look at the bigger scope of things, I should say.
Right. It's just a benefit. Sex should be the benefit part. But besides sex, what can we offer each other? What we bring it to the table?
So Tammy,
what can
because you're just
grow
there.
Well, I'm listening to everybody, and everybody does have some good points. But what I look at with me is all about communication, getting to know somebody. It's spending time. Now, when I spend time with somebody, I can see certain things, just like they can see things with me. And I know when somebody's watching me and paying attention because of the small things that they do, and I look for that. I think, just like the young man said, it's not a fact about what did he say? Because I didn't anyway, it's more or less about when you do the small things. I look for small things in relationships. I don't look for the big stuff, because I always say, if something was to ever happen, would you be able to do something small for me to put a smile on my face? Because I'm very creative, and I want somebody that's creative as well. And I like for people to think about me throughout the day. So communication, spending time. I mean, your 5 love languages, mine is spending time. If you can't find time for me, I don't want to have anything to do with you, because I think that is the basis for getting to know somebody.
Right.
So, I mean, it seemed like these days, men just want to text. I don't want to talk to you. You can't get to know me by texting me. Okay.
Right.
Want to see
Like,
you.
like the gentleman said to me, at the age we are, you too old to be doing that. So
I know, right?
that's
Tamala,
We have another viewer on. I'm going to go back and forth because I'm trying to read the comments that we're getting as we're having this conversation. So another viewer says, if you are being true and loving your mate, you don't have time to love anyone else. You don't have the time to love anyone else.
That's true.
So
But you know-
I'm glad you mentioned that, Connie, because time, and I want to bring in Tamala's point, and talking, right? That
Patient.
quality time, talking, and I mean, let's face it, there's some conversation that you can have with one person that could be very different than another person, right? Going back to Cinta's point, Cinta says, hey, Joe over here, has that intellectual side that may piques her interest, right? But Ray, 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 he brings that up, he feeds that other side. And the reason why I want to keep coming back to this point is because women can probably define what love is. Tamala mentioned love languages, right? You mentioned love language to some men, they're like, love language, what do you mean, right? And so that conversation, Connie, requires time. So to the viewer's point, if you're spending significant quality time. Now, I'm not saying, you have to be having a conversation all the time, but if you're meeting each other's needs with that quality time, right? It could be a walk in the park. It could be, walking along the shoreline of a beach. It could be simply being in the quiet space of your home, or your apartment, wherever you are, right? And so I think the viewer is touching on the point that when you spend time and how you spend that time, because if you're spending your time with multiple individuals, I'm telling you, it's gonna be hard to keep up, right? I feel, somewhat sorry for Mike's generation, because now they have social media and they have so many. And so if Mike said, well, I love talking to Lisa, because Lisa, likes to hit him up on the DM. And I had to figure out what the DM was, because I'm just being transparent. I'm like, you hit him on the DM. What phone company is that? I mean, I have Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. I thought it was something else.
Wow.
But think about it though. And so if Lisa and Mike likes to talk on, and listen, if Mike has a girlfriend out there, I'm just making up Lisa. Complete disclaimer right here. I'm just
Right.
tonight. We're not using real names tonight. Ray, Pookie, right? So if you're a Ray or Pookie out there, we're not talking about you. But if you think about meeting your mate where they are, right? Meeting your mate where they are. And Connie, let's face it, men and women, they might like to text one another. They might share emojis, right? That's just where we are. But the question is, if they're trying to have a conversation with Jacqueline, right? I mean, Jacqueline is that old school, that traditional, old school.
He
We're
said,
good.
"Oh,
We're good.
he left the school."
Now, I said old school. Old school. I said old school. See, y'all trying to start some mess. But if you're accustomed to having a conversation, nice dinner, face to face, right? And if that person preferred to text Jacqueline, she's not going to be interested. It has nothing to do with his bank account, has nothing to do with how he looks. If she is one that prefers a conversation. And so that's why when Cinta mentioned that point about there could be two individuals that feed both of her side of her hemisphere, right? And her mind and her psyche. And so when you're trying to win someone's love, chemistry, to Tamala's point and Portia's point, is one thing. But I think, how do you maintain it? Let's talk about that, right? Because I agree with you, Connie. If you do the things to win your mate, should be the same things you continue to do to maintain her or him or whatever your partner, right? You don't stop it when you win their love. You don't stop. In fact, that's when the real work begins, right? You don't start off opening up the car door or sending just because flowers, and now you won the love, and now you stop it, right? You don't stop it after you get married. You don't, right? There's no part of the relationship where you start or stop those things that you started with. How do you maintain the love that you want?
Well, how do you let's talk about how you maintain if you're pursuing a relationship, you're in a relationship, you haven't actually won it yet. Can we talk about that? Like, okay,
we can talk about it.
Okay, so my question, I guess, would be: should a woman pursue the man once they're, they know they want to, they're like, talking to each other on the phone, going out for a little bit? Should the woman be pursuing? Should you be calling all the time, or calling the first, being the first to call, or always being available when he's calling her?
It should be 50-50, honestly. If it's not equally balanced, then it's just like, it's going to show you how that relationship is going to play out. You're going to be
so if he's not calling a lot, then the female shouldn't be, you
should give them the same energy that they give you. If they don't give you that energy to where they check on you first thing in the morning just to hear your voice, then it's just like, that's where you're going to stand. Like, so if that's one of your non-negotiables, you have to care enough to say, oh, look, let me take 5 seconds out of my day to make sure that you're all right, and make sure that you're breathing, because it's not promised that you woke up. So if they can't take the 5 seconds to like just tap in the morning, then it's like, there's no point. Just leave it alone.
Okay,
let's go. Point there.
That's a good point. I'm gonna let you finish, and then we're gonna go to a viewer's question.
Okay.
We have 2.
I thought about what he said, because I had a young man call me every day, just about 2 or 3 times a day, but I would never call him. But I wasn't interested, But even though I liked his company, but still, I wasn't interested. So he does have a point there. If somebody's not giving you the same energy that they're giving, not giving you the same energy you're giving them, they're not interested. That's just all to it. So I save face and bounce off. So just go ahead and bounce away.
Listen to this. We have another comment from a viewer. It says, it's not even natural for a woman to be with more than one man at the same time.
Not natural.
Not natural.
I wonder who left that comment.
Do I
Not
get on Facebook? No,
Natural.
What is natural in 2021 though?
Right. I was getting ready to say, in
because
this
one thing that I can tell you,
time, now when my mama and them was grown, even when my mama and them was growing up, because my mother and my daddy divorced because my dad had a side chick. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying, but that's what the statement was made, is that it was unnatural. And even if that was the case, I'm just saying in today's society, it's not natural. It's almost like even Steven, it's 50-50 really. It's a girl, a chick can do what she want and a guy can do what she want. If a girl want to have two guys, it's okay. And if a guy want to have two guys, I'm sorry, two girls, it's okay. And if a guy want to have a girl and a guy, it's okay. We living in a totally different society and time today. So I just wanted to bring that up, but that was a statement he made. Now, this is another one a brother said. He said, you desire a relationship, but how do you finally get past the pain of your past? When you start something new, you search for excuses to turn and walk away.
Oh, wow.
I want to hit my heart, but I honestly don't know how. I spend my days sad and alone. I got a few girlfriends right now.
I'll comment on that one.
Sound like he needs to be healed first.
It's hard.
He need to be healed first.
He's afraid to get, he's afraid of getting hurt. That's all that is.
And that hurt is very real. That pain and that hurt is very real when you've been hurt in a relationship.
Yes, because a lot of people fall in love really hard.
Yeah.
Fall in love really hard. And then when that relationship ends, it hurts and it takes a long time to heal. And then if you do start getting into other relationships, you're comparing them to the one you've been before. And that's going to hold you back from actually being able to, live your life and do it. And it hurts. And you're afraid of getting hurt and you're protecting your heart. I definitely know.
That sounds like that's where this brother is. Really, he's in a state of protecting his heart because he's been hurt before. So now, and that's real. People guard their heart because you don't want to be hurt the same way again. And so unfortunately, that's what happens. So it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning: spending that quality time, getting to know a person. What I mean, having those communications, having that camaraderie, all of those things have to go. It's almost like you got to go back and do it all over again and kind of forget about what you once had and start new all over again. Because if you keep living in if I woulda, coulda, shouldas, you'll never end up with that person who you really ultimately belong with or are connected to.
I tell myself that I cannot let my past contaminate my future.
That's right.
To anything saying, oh, he's starting to look just like old boy. Oh, he's holding that phone just like he did. Oh, he's stepping out. I couldn't do it to me. Because if I did do that, I actually would not have ended up with the husband that I do have. So I had to sit up there and say, I'm good. I'm walking to this and I'm going to see what happens. And then whatever happens, I'm going to say that was his decision. That's what he's doing. And we're going to communicate like we're talking about and figure out what that decision was and what it was. And I'll address that thing then, not bring up something Smitty did.
Yeah.
And, leaving it on.
You have to treat each relationship like a blank sheet of paper. You can't judge your next relationship based off of the last person, because those are two different people with two different emotions, two different mindsets.
DNA.
And then 9 times out of 10, just the way that the universe works is, if you just got out of a relationship, 9 times out of 10, you're going to attract someone that's in the same situation. So the seriousness is going to be a little higher because y'all both don't want to feel that pain. But to go back to the viewer's comment, I feel like you just have to just really jump out on faith. And in order for you to find real love, you have to be okay with making yourself vulnerable. Because until you can make yourself vulnerable, then you're not going to find something genuine, because you're not going to put your all in it. There could be one more step that you can just put out that can make that person feel a little bit better, but you're afraid to do it because of that reaction. You don't know if it's going to be a positive reaction or a negative reaction. You just got to jump out on faith, because your time is ticking. It's not promised, like I said. So you need to just jump out.
But I think you have to allow yourself to heal.
Most
you
definitely.
Can't just get out of a relationship and then jump into another one, just because, well, I'm used to being with a person, so I want to be with a person again. You have to give yourself time to heal, try to figure out, who you are and what you want and what you'll accept in a relationship. And it may take a month, it may take 2 months, 6 months, it may take a couple of years, it may take 10 years, but however long it takes for you to heal, That's how long it's going to take. And then, you know, you'll be able to get into a relationship and you won't be comparing, well, he's not acting like, you know, this person did, or he's not treating me the way he did. You know, he's not going to, because he don't know that person. He, you know, and they're two different type of people. There's two different types of love. He loved you one way and it didn't work out. Now this one is loving you another way. Allow him to love you the way he wants to love you. That's my.
Yeah.
You can't compare people, but you know, people do.
You know, I think, and I agree with, you know, with what has been said, right? I think that you cannot have any scar tissue. You cannot have any scar tissue. And what I mean by that is you can't bring what took place in a prior relationship into a new relationship, whenever that may be, right? I don't think it's going to be 10 years, Jacqueline, but it's going to take some time, right? You know, to heal, right? It may not take 10 years to heal, Jacqueline. Please don't tell me it takes 10 years to heal. It may take a month or two, right? Right. But I think to be fair to yourself first and to your future love second, not to have any scar tissue. You can't have any residual, right? You got to make sure, because it's not fair to that future love. And to Cinta's point, which I absolutely agree with Cinta and Michael, you may be a millennial, but you got an old soul.
I know. I'm like, woo.
You know, because you have to be vulnerable. And the only way I know, and I could be wrong here, please, and I've been corrected before. You got to be transparent, right? And to Tamala's point, if you feel like there's no chemistry and this thing is not going nowhere, it is incumbent upon you to share with that other person that you got to tell them up front, hey, I don't feel it. I don't feel it today. I'm not gonna feel it tomorrow. Be fair with them, right? If they're calling you every day and you're not calling them for a reason because you're not feeling it, don't extend that pain, right? I think because what you're doing is creating a situation for the next person, right? They may not have the same level of energy to say, you know what, I'm not going to call, Joanne every day, because when I call Lisa every day, that ended horribly, right? We're all human. So what ended up happening, Joanne was like, well, I guess Ray doesn't love me because he doesn't call me every day. So now Joanne liked Ray, but because Ray got hurt by Lisa, because he was showing interest and he was being transparent. And so we just have to do exactly what Michael said and say, this is a clean slate. I can't compare Lisa to Joanne, two separate women, right? And say, but I'm still going to be me because that relationship did not do so well. It's not because of my fault, right? Who gets penalized for being vulnerable? Who gets penalized for being transparent? Who gets penalized for sharing it and being talkative and expressive? No one, right? And so what ended up happening is, Connie, and I think going back to our viewer, they take that ownership and their heart remained broken for a long time because they immediately start asking themselves that rhetorical question, was it my fault? What did I do? I chased that person away. Yeah. And you may miss the very person that God sends your way because you're still blaming yourself.
Mm-hmm. All right. I like that. So let's go down to the maintaining the relationship.
Yeah, let's talk about maintaining, right? Because hey, Michael, because what we're not going to talk about tonight is sex, because it was already mentioned. We ain't going down that road. Mm-hmm. We ain't going down that road. Because I watched that movie, Think Like a Man by Steve Harvey. And Michael, let me tell you, Michael, you may have an old soul, but women already have in their mind when that timetable is. Some got a 90-day rule, some may got a 24-hour rule. We already heard it tonight. Portia said they may not even get a day. Right? Everybody, every woman have their rule, Michael. Michael, listen to me, Michael. I'm just talking to you right now, Michael. Don't start, Michael, listen to me. You don't start the conversation about sex. When we gonna, no. Women will let you know when they're ready.
Right.
Sure will.
And me personally, I respect a woman that doesn't just throw herself out there the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, months, because that shows me that you're more in the head than just like, you know what I mean, a pretty face. You know, I don't trust pretty faces nowadays. What is your mindset? What's your credit score, first of all? You know what I mean? Like,
wait a minute, hold up now. Whoa, did you just say credit score?
Because I'm at the point where both of us can't be in the same situation. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm already attracted to older women. So I can't be a younger person in the relationship sitting at a higher credit score trying to save you. And I'm like, come on, man. We're like, we're
attracted to older women, and I'm attracted to younger men.
Hey, man.
Oh my.
Come on,
make sure y'all don't mix the ages. Just make sure y'all don't mix the ages. That's all. You'll be good.
So our point of view, audience, if you ask your mate what's their credit score, please send that question into Connie right now, because that is a new question. If in 2021 we have men and women asking the other one about their credit score, oh my goodness, this could be a game changer. I got it. So to our viewership, are you asking your mate what's their credit score?
And if you're not, why aren't you?
I think in today's society, or in all jokes aside, I do think that comes up in conversation.
Yes, it does. It does.
It's a question. You know?
Why? Okay, let's
you
be
have
real.
to really see if you can be stable with this person. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants a relationship to where every month we trying to see if we're gonna be in an apartment next month.
Right.
You want to make sure that we have enough time to go and have the fun, have the romance, because there's enough income. If there's no income, then there is no outcome. We ain't going outside and we can't have fun, and there ain't gonna be no roses. We need some money, you know what I mean?
Wait a minute, hold on, time out. Hold up, wait a minute. First off,
thanks, Michael.
If you're gonna use the credit score as a metric to determine the future relationship you may have with a person, right? No one on this panel have the control over their credit score, right? You don't even opt in, you can't opt out, right? And so,
but if you pay bills on time, your credit score will go up. If you don't.
Let me rephrase that before you elaborate. Don't look at the credit score.
Let me finish the thought.
Go ahead.
So if you don't have 100% control, I'm not talking about just paying your bills on time and all that. My question to you all on this panel tonight: what credit score will you require of your mate?
Over 400.
Wow. I feel like it basically goes to that person. Like you can't require someone that to have like an 850 if you're at like a 600. You have to be lenient. Like, we got to meet in the middle. But I can't be on the verge of being at 700 and you still trying to like get past 200-300. That means that you have no discipline. You have no consistency. You don't know how to prioritize, and you let your fun and leisure outweigh your responsibilities. So that's 4 red flags that you don't need to be with me. You need to go and worry about yourself for a little bit longer. You know what I mean? That shows that you need to grow a little bit more. That's how I was looking at it.
That's true.
And
I can't co-sign that, Mike. Here's the reason why. what if, because Mike, you're what, 25, 26?
25.
25. So
Me,
let's
25.
say you meet Lisa, right?
Okay.
And Lisa is at Emory Law School, right? She had the only job she ever had in her life. She was 16 and 17 working at Chick-fil-A, right? But the last 6 years, really, she got her undergrad, decided to go to law school. And so her credit score is 300. That's the average college student credit score, between 300 to 400, because they never had a job long enough. But yet now she becomes a lawyer. Now she's making 6 figures, Mike, and her credit score is 350 because the last 6 years she was a college student. And you're telling me
the last 6 years will outweigh her credit, because she just showed you that she had discipline because she's in law school. So it has its balances. You just have to just weigh it. She's showing you that.
But she below the credit score. She below the credit score that you said that you're going to be interested in entertaining.
No, I said it's going to be a median of my credit score, but the way that she can fix that is you just show me that you're disciplined because you're in law school first of all. So you have goals for yourself. I can work with that because I know why you have a low credit score. But if you're just sitting around and you're just at a 9-to-5 job and you have no intentions of leveling yourself up, then that's different. That's a problem. But if you're in school to be a doctor, I see what's up. I'm a human. I understand. You know what I mean? So it's basically each situation is going to be different.
And I don't think, I want to say this, that I don't think the credit question comes out on the first date. I'm saying, this is after you've gone, maybe you have 6 months in with this individual, you know what I mean? And you leaning towards, hey, maybe this could turn into something greater. Then down the line, those are the kind of questions you want to know, you know what I mean?
Right.
What's your credit score like? What do you want to do? Do you want to have children? Do you have children? How are you with not having children at all? Those are the kind of questions you ask somewhere down the line. Now on the first, second, third, fourth date, I mean, somebody gonna say, well, what's your credit score? But I think somewhere down the line, that question, that conversation has to be had. Now, when I got married and dated my husband, I mean, neither one of us said, what's your credit score?
Well, back then, we weren't talking about credit score.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it wasn't.
We were talking about what's your sign.
But that's my point. It wasn't a point of conversation back then, but the times have changed. So the conversations have definitely changed. I mean, hearing Mike talk, he sounds like my sons. My sons say the same thing. They have these kind of conversations. And even I was having a conversation with my son the other day, who's 25, and he was saying, in all honesty, Mom, you and Dad really didn't sit us down and teach us financial planning. We learned that from the mistakes that you guys made along the way. But can I say that you sat down and said, this is how they had a bank account, and, we did savings and all that, but I'm saying, did we know financial planning? And I said to him, that's a great point, but guess what? Did we even know financial planning? I mean, my kids today at their age is far more advanced than what I was thinking at 25, 26. You understand what I'm saying? So the conversations today are different than what they were 30 years ago.
Right.
And plus, they don't teach that financial part in high school. That Michael brings that to my attention all the time. He's like, they don't teach you how to write a check or balance a checkbook, or they don't teach you. There's a lot of different things about finances that they don't teach you. They don't teach you anything about your credit score. You need to know about, things like that. But then as far as the credit score, you have your number, but if you look at your report, as long as you don't have repossessions on there or bankruptcies or collections, I think if you have a low credit score, that's fine. That means you don't have any credit because you didn't have a job. You didn't have any bills to pay. So that's totally different if you have a 350 because you're not paying your bills, or you have repossessions, or you have a lot of negative things on your credit. So I mean, I could deal with someone with a credit score. Well, not at my age, not right now. No, no. If you got a 350, no. No, that ain't happening. No, but still, it's like you have to take into consideration why a person has the number that they have and the age, and you have to look at the reasons for it and all. But back then, we didn't talk about finances. We didn't talk about that. You just had to learn from making mistakes.
I feel
so.
like, go ahead.
So I think this is an excellent and healthy conversation. And while you all were sharing your perspective, I had to go to Google because I did not anticipate talking about credit score tonight. The average credit score is 711.
711.
711 is the average credit score. And they start ranging it between 300 and the maximum is 850. So when you think about maintaining love, though, and I understand your point very well, Connie. Eventually, finance will come up. The question is when you're maintaining your love. So you won the love, now you maintaining it, and you the way you maintain it is having these real conversations, right? These tough conversations, and make sure that when you talk about, finance, or what about the spiritual side of things, right? Your spiritual makeup, right? Tamara mentioned love languages, right? And these love languages, all 5 of them are very different. They come from a different place, right? So when you start talking about maintaining love, you start looking towards the future, which is the last part of our conversation for this evening, is keeping it. And maintaining is one thing, but keeping it is another, right? That's when you are saying, I look forward to being with you when we turn 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, right? You look at someone like, Michelle and Barack Obama.
I was thinking the same thing.
Right? You can clearly see that they're going to be together until the good Lord calls one of them home, right? And I'm sure on our Zoom tonight, they'll say, listen, it hasn't been all rosy and peachy. Sure, right? There's been some roller coasters, some challenges, but do you have enough love maintained to keep you together, right? To weather the storms, right? What happens when your credit score dips below 400 because you encounter a pandemic that nobody has any control over?
Right.
You lose a job, right? Or you can't maintain the mortgage and you got to downsize. Do you still have enough in the tank? Because maintaining is one thing, but to keep it and say, for better or for worse. Right? So what do we do to keep that love that we want? What do we do to keep it?
I feel like, let me interject. I know I'm the youngest person here, but one thing that I've learned just from trial and error, when you're working on trying to keep your relationship, no matter how bad it is, no matter how bad you think the result is, always tell the truth. You know what I mean? Don't ever lie to anybody, because if you have to lie to me, that's showing that we don't really have love, because you're not going to lie to somebody that's love. So I feel like that's one big piece that most people look past, because they say, oh, well, whatever you don't know won't hurt you. Know what happens in the dark always comes back to light, and it's worse when it comes back and they have to find out from an outside source, and that source is not you, because now that messes up your credibility. Your face card bump your credit. Your face card is worth more than your credit. So once your face card is tarnished in someone's face, in someone's mind, it's a wrap. It's over with. It's finito. You know, and then like we all said, we're all mature nowadays. We're not kids and whatnot. There's no time to be playing. So when someone says, I'm done with you 9 times out of 10, they're done with you. And you don't want to risk a relationship that could have been something big and successful for something real minuscule that you could have really just told the truth about, you know? I feel like
So once again, Michael, you're raising another topic that I did not anticipate talking about tonight, and that is, what are deal breakers? What? Because in the Bible, right? It says, does it say 7 times or 70 times, or until the end of time.
Mhm.
When do you forgive?
You have to forgive all the time.
Right. So, but Portia, that's not what Michael just said. Michael just said, I'm done. I'm right.
Because of the trust.
Yeah,
You know,
if I can't
the
trust you, we
the
have
trust
nothing.
issue was gone. That's why he said he done.
Yeah, but Trump lied to the nation
Hey, one thing
30,000
about it though,
times.
we ain't playing
Documented.
down Trump, man.
He lied 30,000 times.
And look what happened. He got impeached twice. We broke up with Trump twice, but he keep trying to come back.
Well, I have to interject. I see that totally different, even with the trust factor. I mean, if you love a person and, you know, say you're married to an individual and you all go through some struggles, and there's some things that happen in that marriage and that relationship, I think it's up to the two individuals to really say whether they want to continue on with that marriage and that relationship, or they want to go separate ways. But I think it happens. It's different in every situation, in every circumstance. Because if somebody is willing to love me through my mess and love me through my madness and say, I don't trust you today, but I'm going to work on trusting you again because you trusted me before.
Right.
There was a trust. You loved me. We were in love. And then something happened. And so that trust is broken. Doesn't mean that you're never going to get back to trust. Never doesn't mean that you're never going to, that you stop loving the person. The trust has just been broken. But if the two individuals are willing to say, hey, we're going to work on this together as a couple to keep what we have, then so be it. Then it's not a washing of the hands. It's we're going to come together. We're going to work together. We're going to do the best that we can. We're going to pull through this.
That's when you know you have real love.
I have a friend that divorced, right? They literally divorced. But after the divorce, they realized that they still loved each other. They still wanted to be together. They didn't want to, they hated the fact that they separated their family. So what did they do? They had to have that hard conversation, but I love you. I don't want to be with nobody else. Okay, I was with that individual over there, but that's not who I want to be with. Can we get back to at least counsel? Can we trust? Can we get back to trusting one another? And I'm happy to say that that couple is getting married again in 2021. They were divorced probably 4 or 5 years, but they never stopped loving each other. They never stopped wanting to be together. It was just somebody was bruised. They were hurt. They were broken. You know what I mean? They felt like, I'm not going to ever get this out of my head. I'm never going to forgive you for it. But time has healed the wounds. Okay. And so now they're getting back to trust. So I think that every relationship has to be based on those two individuals, because what works for me and my husband may not work for Cynthia and her husband. What my husband and I have gone through, my girlfriend and her husband maybe would have never survived. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that we need to keep that door open, especially when there's that genuine love, like State Rep was saying. When you maintain it, how do you keep it? So what do I do now? Do I still run my husband's bathwater? Do I still bring him home to a candlelight dinner? Now, if he was here, he'd be like, no, she. Hey, Mike, don't put that in the line, babe. But I'm just saying, you understand what I'm saying? There are things that you have to continue to do even 20 years down the line, even 30 years down the line, because it's what drew that person to you and what drew you to that person. You might have to go back and revisit it and say, wait a minute, you know, because, you know, we getting the round bellies, you know what I mean? I ain't as cute and fine and petite as I was 30 years ago. You know what I mean? But I'm still that same individual. So it doesn't mean that my husband, we don't want to be together no more because my shape has changed. You know, some people got married and somebody got deathly ill. You didn't know that that person you married was going to have an illness that would carry them to their death. But what do? You make that adjustment and you love that person and you care for them and you take care of them. Why? Because you're still maintaining and you're willing to continue to do what you needed to do to keep that relationship going. So that's how I.
So
I think
it's
going to depend on how the trust was broken. Like, did someone step out of the marriage? You know, can you forgive if your husband cheated on you or if your wife cheated on you? It's easy to forgive if they took some money out of the bank without telling you. But as far as they, you know, had a relationship with somebody else and maybe had a child with that person and you didn't know about it and you find out, that may be hard for a person to deal with. That may be okay for another person to deal with because they may be like, look, we've been together for 10 years. I'm not letting nothing come, you know, come in between our marriage. I'm just going to deal with it. Some people may be like, I can't forgive for that, you know. So I think it's going to depend on what the issue is that tore you apart, that broke your trust in the beginning, what your deal breaker was. So that's one thing you need to talk about in the beginning. What are your deal breakers? What can you forgive for? What can't you forgive for? But as you get older in the relationship more, you may be like, okay, well, 10 years ago, I told you I couldn't, you know, I couldn't forgive you if this happened, but you know, I'm okay with that. You know, I can try to handle that, but I still can't forgive for, you know, for physical abuse or for if you lie to me continuously or if you step out on me. There's certain things that, you know, just like are real serious deal breakers, but some things you can deal with.
I feel like that goes back to when you first start the relationship. You have to see once it gets serious, you have to sit down with that person and go over boundaries. That's what people don't really focus on anymore. They don't lay it all on the table. Look, this is what I'm expecting. This is what I'll tolerate, and this is what is a non-negotiable. But I did have a second question. Does marriage and titles start to really mess with a relationship? Because sometimes I've seen you may be a happy relationship when you're dating, but as soon as you put a ring on someone's finger and you start to like combine your life, that's when it's like, oh, I don't know about this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, is it too late to get a ring back? You know what I mean? So like me personally, I've never been married. That's why I'm asking you guys, like, is it different from being married and just dating
Oh
somebody?
my gosh.
So
Yeah.
no, I chuckle, Mike, but so I'm from a man's perspective. I think there's a lot of C's when you're dealing with relationship, right? Christ, communications, compromise. But there's one C that I think you're raising that we have not discussed tonight, and that's commitment. When should the commitment start, right? The commitment, in my mind, does not start at the altar. It should start when you start to use the word love. When you tell and exchange the word love, commitment started, right? That means you forsake all others. That means the wedding is just a ceremony in my mind. Because when you start using the word love and you equally exchange that between you and your mate, that's when the commitment is. All in, full stop, 100%. So the ring is just really immaterial. It's from a biblical standpoint, you should tell the world how serious you are to be committed through marriage. But commitment, you don't need a ring to show your commitment. The ring is just an example of how committed you are, how strong you are. So you should get married. You should give a ring, but the commitment starts well before that.
I have something from our viewers, Jack. Let me interject. I want to keep them engaged as well. One of our viewers says, communication is a must. Trust is important and both should be nurtured to the fullest throughout the relationship.
Right.
And then the other one, the gentleman who we were talking to prior to this, and I just want to encourage him. He said, I actually walked in on my ex-wife and my best friend in the bed. And I want to say to that brother, that's counseling. Like that's another level. Like you need to really, and I'm no expert. I didn't go to school for counseling, but I'm saying to help you get through that process and to heal through that, I believe that you should seek out some counseling. And if you sought out counseling already, then I will go and seek some more counseling, because that's a heavy, and you need somebody to help you, talk you through that and walk you through that process, so that you can get back to loving someone, because I believe that you can. If we were open and honest and tell some of our own personal stories, you'd be like, what? You know, I can't believe you actually experienced that. I can't believe you actually went through that. But I believe that you can get back to a place and a point in your life where you can love again, and somebody will love you. And I think that it's just like what I think Jackie might have said it, but you have to get healed from that hurt first. You cannot take that into another relationship, because it will be very damaging from the beginning.
Right. And I think with commitment, they're here saying commitment starts when you tell a person you love them. I think commitment should start way before that. Like when you're in a relationship and you decide that you want to have that exclusive relationship with each other, that's when your commitment, to me, should start. You should be like, okay, I'm going to be committed to you 100%. Because, you know, when you get in a relationship, you want to see it progress. You want to see it get to the next level. So you want to make sure you're honest with each other, and you're open with each other, and, you know, and you're committed to each other, and you're respecting each other. You know, so I think it should start way before you say, I love you.
I agree.
There's like, whatever. I'll commit when I say I love you.
No. Here's
Are you still on Google?
No. Listen, Jacqueline. The only reason why I say that is because based on what everyone has shared, right? I'm trying to reach a consensus here. You know, and consider what Cinta and Tamala and Portia and Connie, what everybody said, because that continuum is not as clean when you start talking about winning somebody's love, right? And I'm trying to even get my own nephews. You don't simply just throw the word out there in love and attach everything on top of it, because now you're abusing the word love, right? Because and this is not a Derekism, but men in general will say, I love you, with the hope and prayer to get to that level of intimacy, because they've used that word for access. And so I'm just saying, let's go a little bit deeper and beyond that, and start showing, you know, that there's, you know, commitment, there's chemistry, there's all the things we've been talking about this evening. And so I just know that the word love has been abused, and I don't want our viewership to think that our point of view is that how some relationships are on this nice clean continuum. They're not. They're all going to be at different intersections. And it's my hope and prayer that in today's modern age, and listening to some of the commentary that Connie shared from our audience tonight, you know, I'm telling you, this whole, I don't have my cell phone, but this whole thing tonight around, we even touched the surface, Jacqueline, on the use of social media. Right. And how people and date.com or matchupblackpeople.com and all these, you know, websites out there where people use somebody else's picture. I think they call it phishing or catfish.
Catfish, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm saying. I don't want us, you know, maybe we need to have another conversation, another show on this, and bring up these conversations. But I just don't want the word love to be continued to be abused. Right. You have to win it. You have to maintain it. You have to go through the storm like Connie was breaking down, right? You know, for us, you know, there's going to be some days, right? And the question is, you know, the whole Slim and Queen, Bonnie and Clyde, you know, whoever you want to use, right? Are we in this thing to the end, right? Like Connie was breaking it down, right? And so, you know, keeping that love, you know, I want primarily men who are watching this tonight to understand that we have some catching up to do with women, because women will give you everything. When they're all in, women are all in.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I just want my brothers out there, when they're all in, to be all in. And don't anticipate the next great thing is going to come around the corner. No, go ahead and be committed. If you like, what name I haven't used tonight. If you like Chandrika, man, give Chandrika everything. Don't think that the next great thing is going to come around the corner. No, if Chandrika is it, be all in with Chandrika.
But where the Bonquisha around the corner come around and like, you know what I mean, her credit color.
LaQuisha is going to be somebody else's mate. You know, LaQuisha should have came around the corner sooner. Right? We gotta listen. Life is too short. This pandemic has really demonstrated to us all, life is short. And the greatest gift that God gave us besides Jesus Christ is love. And when we have the capacity and the capability to love, we can do things that animals can't do, right? To a lion and a lioness, you know, they just have sex and to make cubs. They don't love each other. They're like, oh, okay, this is instinctive things that we got to do to keep this natural progression going. But human beings are different, right? God gave us the capability and the capacity to love someone. What greater joy in this journey we call life to be able to love someone, right? You look at someone like Jimmy Carter and his wife, they've been married for 75 years, y'all. They wake up to the same bad breath, the same, somebody educated me about eye boogers, you know, all that stuff. They've been doing it for 75 years. Michael, Jimmy Carter wasn't looking for Chandrika. He like, you know what, Rosalind, you're it. And we're in this thing until one of us is called home. To be married for 75 years, they've been through some things, Connie, right? Yeah. They've been through some, they probably even went to marriage counseling, marriage retreats, all those sort of things. But in the end, what do we see, right? This man is 92, 93 years old. He still holds her hand when they're walking down the street.
The little things.
And you know what, I think that's what a lot of women, I know I do, want is that companionship. They want to be with someone for the rest of their life, want to grow old with someone, you know, so especially when you're at the age, like I'm 58 years old, you know, I've been married twice, divorced twice, and I would like to get married again. But the men in my category, they're either already married or they don't want to get married again. So it's like, you know, what do you do? And it's scary, you know, because, you know, tomorrow's not promised, but you want someone that's going to love you and treasure you and respect you and commit to you. But it's so hard to find that. It's, I mean, you know, and now, especially with the pandemic, you can't go out and, you know, and meet people face to face. When you go out, you have a mask on, so you don't know what anybody looks like. You know, you don't know if anybody's smiling at you. All you know, you might see their eyebrows go up or something, but you don't know, you know, I mean, you don't know what they look like or anything. But, you know, it's all about wanting that lifelong commitment, just wanting to be with somebody, to grow old with them. Yeah, you want to smell somebody's bad breath in the morning, or you want to see their habits, and you want to grow with them, and you want to, you know, just constantly love on them and have somebody that you can look forward to coming home to. You know, but it's so hard. It's so hard now, you know, that's why people have to go to social medias like Plenty of Fish or blackpeoplemeet.com or match.com or whatever. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because, you know, you get deceived by some people. You know, you get deceived by them, and then, you know, they might put, you know, profile pictures up from 10 years ago, or they might, you know, say they do this and do that, and then when you meet them, it's like a totally different story. So I mean, it's so hard now. It's so hard, but everybody wants to be loved. Everybody deserves to be loved.
Well, before we end our show, I just want to give our audience the 7 stages of relationships.
Uh-oh.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Because Jacqueline, you just mentioned a couple of things, and so here are the 7 stages of relationships, you all. And listen, maybe we're gonna have another show because, like I said, Valentine's right around the corner. February is the month of love, right? 7 stages of relationships. Stage number 1, passionate love. How do you win your partner's love? Stage number 2, discovery, right? This goes back to Tamla's point. Discovery. What love language they have. Discovery. Stage number 3. Here it is, Michael. Commitment, right? Commitment. Stage number 4, they call it power struggles, because you may have some competing goals, Jacqueline. You got to talk about where you want to go, where you see yourself 5 years from now. And then, you know, compatibility, power struggles. Stage number 5, growth and stability. Now we're talking about maintaining. How do we grow together? How do we stabilize this, right? We may not have the same credit score, Michael, but eventually we will, okay? Stage number 6, Portia, romantic love. So that way you ain't kicking them out in 24 hours. Stage 6, romantic love. And then the final stage, stage number 7, to keep them, here you go, Connie, crisis and recovery. What happens when it rains? Do you have a big enough umbrella?
That's
right?
it. That's good.
Right? Because marriage is about roller coaster. Relationships is a roller coaster. So those are 7 stages of relationships. Stage 1, passionate love. Stage 2, discovery, finding each other. Stage 3, commitment. Stage 4, power struggles. Stage 5, growth and stability. Stage 6, romantic love. Stage 7, crisis and recovery. That's my truth. Sticking to it. Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's.
This is what it's all about, y'all.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And Derek, thank you. That was awesome. We're going to have you do another show. We have to do a continuation of this. But I want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Portia. And thank you to our hosts, of course, Connie, Michael, Derek. And tomorrow, Michael is actually going to be interviewing on our point of view, up close and personal. So join him tomorrow at 7 o'clock. He's going to be interviewing Mr. Warren Langford. So remember, guys, everything you heard and everything we said was our point of view. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.